track riding, velodrome racing in the city of Cleveland really hasn't existed since maybe the 1930s. I want to say maybe there were 1 or 2 races hosted here in the early 80s, but for the most part, you're talking to a generation of people who have no concept of velodrome riding or racing. But for a climate, Northern Ohio, climate where long cold winters, you've got a surprisingly strong cycling community, and that's of course where this concept it germinated. And then as we began to get the word out, more and more politicians, city development people, economic development groups, sports commissions, you began to see the city, neighborhood by neighborhood, kind of coalesce around this project. We've always talked about a 3-step or a 3-phase project. So phase 1 would be just to prove the concept with the outdoor velodrome. After 2 years of proving ourselves and establishing the market viability in terms of being able to operate at least as a break even, if not generate a small profit, phase 2 would be to continue the fundraising, so we could put some sort of we think an air supported type dome structure, which tends to be less expensive physically to build than a concrete and steel girder. More expensive in the winter time to heat it, and probably more expensive in the summer to cool it. But at least getting a roof over the velodrome would allow us to offer year-round cycling. We call that phase 2. Phase 3 would be kind of the ultimate grand slam, which would then be build maybe an adjacent dome where we could host turf sports, lacrosse, soccer, things like that. Build a kind of a brick and mortar clubhouse environment, shower stalls, maybe a cafe, restaurant, pro shop, facilities for spectators and athletes would come down the road.
We'd be open, somewhere 5 to 7 days a week, weather permitting, and then we're looking at racing, weekly racing on Thursday nights. So those will be spectator friendly. Track racing is very exciting to watch, and we'll have food and we'll have music. It'll be quite a scene for both spectators and racers.
I think in the community that the track exists is probably a bigger impact, actually, because the neighborhood folks around here get to see something that they wouldn't normally get to see. This track in Chicago and in Detroit, we're all offering all the programs free for kids 18 and under. That means you can ride here, you can be coached here, you can use all the equipment for free. So I suspect we're going to see some local kids here that maybe in 4 or 5 years you might see them at national championships and maybe even in some international competition. And it would be very rewarding for me, certainly, to see if we can't get somebody to make it to one of the Olympics.
I think that the neighbors are very supportive. We've had any given day where we've been out here, we get a half dozen neighbors that walk up and want to know when it's opening and what's going on, and if they can lend a hand. So we think we're going to bring up year 1 3,000, 3,500 spectators, or attendance of 3,500. Between riders and racers and spectators. So we're going to bring a lot of people in the neighborhood, and I think that helps out everybody.
There are more cyclists in this country than tennis players or golfers combined, is a statistic I've often been told, and I quote. But what that tells you is there's just a very, very small percentage of the cyclists are competitive cyclists. Overwhelmingly, it's a recreational sport. I should say recreational activity. A lot of people ride bikes, they don't even think of it as a sporting activity. And what we want is to be able to communicate to individuals. You don't have to be a finely tuned or trained athlete. Just the concept of getting on a bicycle, even if you're just going to ride to the local grocery store and ride back to the house, kind of a very European lifestyle. We think a velodrome in a community such as this, and in a bigger city like Cleveland, just to exposing kids to the concept of using a bicycle as an athletic or recreational activity is going to have a huge impact.